everybody. Happy Sunday. So we're going to have some fun tonight and be working on Home is Where the Haunt Is. I made this pillow a few months ago. It's been actually quite a while ago that I did the original pillow. It's so much fun. So hopefully people are able to find me. Looks like I found myself on my tablet over here. But I made this pillow several months ago, and I decided, you know what? I think we need to do it for a class because Sweet Land of Liberty was so much fun. So here's the pillow. I haven't had the pillow, here very, very much. So I have it at the store as a sample. But we're going to do this in several hitches. So tonight we're going to do a couple of blocks in the class. We're going to do the hat here, and we're going to do the row of pumpkins. And then I did a pre-recorded video of 3 of the blocks. So the house, the little bugs and hisses down there, and Mind Your Mummy. So I did a pre-recorded video of those, and that will be uploaded to Facebook about 7 o'clock. So in about an hour, it'll be up on Facebook. And then I will also upload it to YouTube. So this week, there'll be like 5 blocks to work on. There's about 10 blocks in this one. So, and then next week we'll do a couple more in the live class. And then I've also pre-recorded the rest of the blocks. So you have a video for all of the blocks. Okay. Then we'll have a break for Labor Day weekend. And then we're going to do we're going to quilt the borders and the flanges. And then the last week we'll put it together. So we'll finish in September. And then you'll have it in plenty of time for Halloween. So, but these are so much fun to do. And we're going to quilt them in the hoop. I'm going to quilt as I go. And so we'll be talking about that. And the first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about the cutting, and then what you need like for embroidery designs, like for quilting designs and so on. So, okay, so we've got a lot to do tonight. So sorry, I've got a bug dive bombing me here. I'm signed up for that too. I don't know who said that. Just a second. I'm trying to look at the comments here. I am signed up for it too, but I haven't had a chance to actually really work with it. So I'm anxious to try a couple of the projects. So the me time, that's cool. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the camera over, and we're going to talk a little bit about cutting and what you need to cut to get your little kits put together. And then also what you need for like the embroidery designs and in the quilting designs and stuff. Okay. All right. So just a second, let me switch my camera. Give me a second here. And my microphone. Okay. So hopefully everybody can still hear me. All right. Let me see here. Make sure I can still see your comments. I can't always see people's comments on StreamYard because so for those of you who are new, I have a bunch of new people this week. If you go back to this post at the end of class, there's going to be a little link that you can click in there and allow StreamYard to send me your name so that I can see who's asking the comments. So if you don't mind me seeing your name, please do that. And you just go to the video that you're watching right now live. There's a little link, and you can just tell Facebook it's okay for me to see your names. Okay. And that's easier for me to answer people's questions. So, okay. That's why I also always have two computers. Okay. All right. So let's talk a little bit. I got my book here. And we're going to talk a little bit about what you need. Of course, we're going to need our fabrics, and they give you a really nice list of for your fabrics. But let's talk a little bit about the first pages. So normally when I cut, I don't actually, divide everything up by what block they are. But there's not too many blocks in this, so I actually did this time. So here's one of my little kits this is my witch hat. for the first one that we're going to do tonight. So they kind of have you get started, you know, by making your little baggies and naming them by the name of your blocks and that type of thing. Okay. It gives you here on page, this is on page 3. It gives you your embroidery colors, that thread colors that you need. So mine is, oh, that's right. Sorry. Thanks for letting me know about the banner. I always forget about the banner. Sorry, guys. I will turn it off. There we go. Okay. So these little blocks right here are all the colors you need. And what I did is I just went through, and normally when I pick colors, what I do is I kind of take, you know, my fabrics then and match my threads so that they match my fabrics pretty well. So the colors that I have chosen are actually the brother colors. And I don't know if you can see them very well on here. I might have to just, I'll put them on the, I can put them on the list. You might not be able to see my writing here, but I can make a list and put it up on the group. But I used warm gray, number 399, pumpkin, 127, orange aid. There's a light and a dark orange. So I used orange aid is 1122. Lime green, and this is the new lime green, so it's 1072. And then I used the old purple, that old original purple, which is 614, I think. Yeah. And then black, so 900 black. White, that's 001. And then I used gray, which is 817. And then silver, so there was a dark and a light gray. Okay, and I used silver number 005. So, oh, hi, Lynn. I'm glad you made it. So what I'll do, and I also used golden basket because one of the blocks I wanted to match this tan color matched one block, but then I wanted the block to be a little bit more matchy. I think it was the broom block that I used this little, oh, I don't think I have my light on. That's why everything's so dark. Sorry, there we go. So I use this golden basket, which is 1300, and that is the kind of a gold color that I use for my broom. Okay. So that's nice. They always give you that information and kind of give you some little color swatches. But what I do is I take these color swatches and then I look at my fabric to make sure that everything matches fairly well, you know. Okay. All right. So then let's turn the page here. All right. Now, the one thing I did do, so this page, which is page number 4, actually tells you which quilting designs that they used in the block. I did pare it down a little bit because they used a lot. I mean, there was like 8 or 9 different quilting designs, and I thought that was a lot for the pillows. They used the ones out of the candy corn quilt shops, which, you know, was a much larger piece. And they all used almost all of them, I think. So what I did is I picked 4 so that there are 3 that are the block by block ones that we're going to use. So I used Halloween 4, Chevron 1, Halloween 1, and those are the block ones, the block by block ones. And then I used the border Halloween 2. So that's the border one. And I just used 1 border and then 3 that you can use for the blocks. Okay. So I kind of pared it down a little bit and I put all that information in the description for this class, and it's fairly high on the Facebook feed right now, so you can find it and then you can click the affiliate link to take you to the designs if you don't already have them. And you can buy the designs. Of course, these designs are available only through the downloads area on Kimberbell.com. So you can't buy a CD of these. Okay. Second here, my comments are not coming through very well. There we go. So and then the quilting designs are also there under the quilting designs. All right. So I just kind of pared it down so we didn't have quite so many. Because I think there was like 8 or something like that, different quilting designs. I just thought that was a lot. So I just pared it down so that it wasn't so many. I think Sweet Land of Liberty only had like 3 or 4. So that was nice. Okay. So that's what page 4 does to help you. It tells you what quilting designs to use for each block. But what I did is I wrote down next to the ones that I actually used, I just crossed out, like this one, like square number 1 was wavy 2. Well, I didn't use that one. I used Halloween 4 on it. So I just marked down the ones that I used and crossed out the other ones. Okay. And then this page, of course, is going to be your fabrics. And it tells you, and normally what I do when I cut these is I like to take this page and I number it 1 through however many colors are. In this case, there were 16 colors plus the borders and the flanges. So I just numbered these 1 through 16. And normally what I do then is I take those pieces of fabric and I cut the pieces that they require out of those fabrics. And then I put them in a little baggie, marked 1 through 16. And then I just leave them in there and pull them out as I need them. I don't normally do the little kit like this that I actually put all the fabrics for this block in this bag, but there weren't so many this time and it didn't take me so long to do it. So I did go ahead and pull then my 1 through 16, and then I pulled out the fabrics that I needed for each one and put it in a little bag marked witch hat. Okay. So the page 5 is the list of everything to help you. And then if I turn my page over here on page 7, it actually shows you the cutting and for each one. And so you can see that I've numbered them then so that I have the diagram listed with the number that I had over here to help me get it lined up. Okay. So I think most of you have cut something similar to this before, and we've talked about it. Now, I did another video with We Whisk You a Merry Christmas, and that was one of our very first Kimberbell large projects. So if you need more specific information, I made a video very specifically about the cutting and everything. Okay. I know I don't like to cut either. It's not my favorite part either. So normally what I do is I cut like 2 kits at the same time because I almost always have to do this twice. So, but I would tell you, if you need more specific help, go to YouTube. Is easier to find it. YouTube, to the playlist We Whisk You a Merry Christmas, and the video is called Getting Ready for We Whisk You a Merry Christmas, and it will help you if you need more specific information about cutting. Okay, because I went through it and we spent like an hour just talking about the cutting part. But I think most of you have done, one of these now, that I think you'll be fine with my basic information that I'm giving you now. Okay. Then also at the bottom of this page, I'm going back to page 5, are the borders and your flanges here. And then the next page, page 8 or 6, I'm sorry, shows you your embellishments that you need. There isn't an embellishment kit for this one, so you do have to pull your embellishments. And there wasn't a lot. It was mostly glitter vinyl. There was a little bit of embroidery leather, and then some pumpkin or the orange spice velveteen. So there's just a few pieces and some rickrack. So most of it was, pretty straightforward, and there weren't a lot of pieces in it. So, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that many of you have already done your cutting, and I have already done my cutting. So here's my little kit for my witch hat. So the next thing we need to talk about a little bit is the witch hat. So I am going to quilt this in the hoop, and this block will end up 8 by 8 finish. So it's going to be an 8.5, sorry, bumped the camera, 8.5 by 8.5. So if you're quilting in the hoop, if you are quilting in the hoop, you will need to go up in size up for your hoop, because the Halloween 1, which is the quilting design I'm going to use, Halloween 1 8 by 8, is actually 8.5 by 8.5. So I had to go up to my 9.5 by 9.5 square hoop for my machine. I know a lot of you have Dream Machines on up, Stellaires and that kind of thing. So you're not going to have any problems doing this in one piece. Okay. But if you are doing this in a smaller hoop, let's say you only have an 8 by 8 hoop, they do have or smaller, they do have a double hooping option. And they give you a separate little set of instructions for that. I also did a video for Sweet Land of Liberty. For those of you, so let's say you only have an 8x8 hoop, but you can get around it with this. If you only have an 8x8 hoop and you have a little software, if you go back to the Sweet Land of Liberty onto YouTube and go to the playlist, Sweet Land of Liberty, I did a little video about how to remove the tack down lines out of the quilting, and then it should be small enough to fit in your 8x8, because this block is not very big, and I think it would just barely fit in the 8x8 hoop. But I know a lot of you have larger hoops, so it's not going to be a problem. I am going to do it in a one-piece hooping tonight. But I have done that video for Sweet Land of Liberty to help you if you have a smaller hoop. If you have a real small hoop, like only a 6x10, you will need to do it in 2 hoopings. This is the other set of instructions right here to do that. And then to quilt it, what I would do is I would quilt the 2 halves of the block first, for the whole piece of fabric. I would quilt them with the clear blue tiles first, or those designs, and then just do both sides. You can probably do it in 2 hoopings, like in a 6x10 hoop, and then go in and put the embroidery on top of that. Okay, so that would probably be the easiest way. I really like it that I have bigger hoops, so I don't have to worry about that so much, but I know there are a few of you that don't have large hoops. If you have a specific question about how to do this, please contact me and I can go into a little more detail for you. But I think most of you will be able to do this in your larger hoop. Okay. All right. So the first, okay, so these instructions, Sweet Land of Liberty instructions, were actually a little bit better. They had a little bit more information on them than these do. So you had to kind of know what you were doing a little bit, and that's why I decided to do this one specifically in the live class. So, oh, and by the way, here's my backings. So you have to cut your backing. Here's my backing, and here's my flanges and borders too. So I got those cut out of the polka dots. Okay, so I'll put those back here and get them out of the way. Okay, so we are going to quilt this in the hoop. So the first thing, and then of course you'll need your batting. So here's my batting, and you know me, I do not cut the batting. I use chunks of batting because I don't want to have to cut any more than is absolutely necessary. So I just use chunks, like scraps of batting. I also long arm, so I have, always have chunks of batting around. And that I don't like to have to cut the batting. By the instructions in the quilting designs, they tell you how big to cut your batting. I never do that. I just use chunks, and then you have to trim it anyway. So no matter what you do, you still got to trim it. So, all right. So the first thing, when I'm sitting here looking at these instructions, it has all these instructions about centering crosshairs and sticky back tearaway. Well, guess what? We don't need to do any of that. We are going to quilt this in the hoop. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's go ahead and bring these designs up. So I used Halloween 1, and it's the 8x8. So I'm going to go get my quilting design first. And I've got that on my USB stick here. So I'm going to go down to Kimberbell Quilting, and it was Halloween 1. So let me see here. They're kind of in alphabetical order, so it should come up here eventually. GH. There we go. Halloween 1. Oops. And then we want the 8x8 version. And I have a 9.5 by 9.5 hoop in here, because when you bring this up on the screen, you're going to notice. So I'm going to look for the 8x8, and it finishes 8x8. But if you look up here on the screen, see it says that it's 8.5 by 8.5. So it won't fit in the 8x8 hoop. Okay. So I've got my square up there. I'm going to hit set. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my hat. And the hat is centered on the pre-recorded video that will be up after this class, there it's the bugs and hisses block has to be moved in the hoop a little bit because it's not centered. All the rest of them are centered. It's just that one. Okay. So sorry about the fan. I have to have a fan running all the time because I get too warm. Okay. So now I'm going to go hit add down here, and I'm going to go get my witch's hat. So let's go find that. Let's see. Home is where the haunt is. Oops, come on. My fingers don't work on touchscreens too well. All right, and let's go find the hat. Okay, so if you see, there's two hat things. These are the two split designs if you have to do that, and then this is the full one over here. So I'm going to grab that, and you can see it came up centered. Okay, and I'm going to hit set. All right, so I'm happy with how that worked. And you know what? I forgot my little hoop tonight, but I think I've got enough room. I can get my bigger iron in here. We have to do, you know, we may not have done that though. I'll have to look and see. They may not have you press this because it's on this Velveteen. Not sure. We'll look at the instructions. Okay. All right. So we've got the hat, and we've got our quilting first. So the quilting instructions are separate from the embroidery design. So if you need to know how to do the quilting, make sure you print those out with your quilting designs. Okay. But they're always the same order. It's going to do a placement line for the batting, then a tack down line for the batting, then a placement line for the fabric, then the tack down line for the fabric, and then the quilting. Okay, so it's always the same routine. So once you kind of get the hang of it, I don't print them out all the time anymore. So, okay. So some of this stuff here, let's go ahead and bring this down so you can see this a little better. Some of this stuff here, of course, then we're just going to skip this. I am going to quilt this with my orange aid, which is my darker orange. I wrote that in what I quilted it with. And then we're not going to be using any of this tacky stabilizer or the little crosshairs because we know exactly where this is going, right? Because it's in the hoop already. And I've got my 9.5 by 9.5 inch square hoop in my machine. I have no-show mesh stabilizer in my hoop. We're not using tearaway. And I've got my batting ready. I've got my little pack here with my parts in it. So just a second here. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. And I might need to go press this just a little bit. It's been in the bag for a couple weeks. I cut these out a little while ago. Let me see if I might have to go press my Velveteen a little bit. Hopefully my iron's awake. All right, so here's my Velveteen. That's going to be the background. And then let me press my little black pieces too a little bit. I wanted to leave something in the bag for you so you could see what I did. But then, of course, they need to be pressed, you know. These were all cut out of scraps, so sometimes they're kind of... All right, and then I've got my other two little pieces over here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the orange aid thread, which is my darker orange. And we are going to stitch out the placement line for the batting for this hat. Is everybody doing okay? Can everybody hear me okay? All right. So step number 1 is going to be the placement line for the batting. Just a second here. Got to get my chunk of batting here. I found that using just the chunks of batting instead of cutting it saved me so much time because you have to trim it anyway. So I didn't see any reason to spend all that time cutting all that batting. So I like to be able to spend time sewing instead of cutting. So okay. So then we're going to lay our batting. Now this batting that I'm using, I like to use, this is Hobbs 80/20 batting. So I'm just going to lay this up here over this line. Oops, second here doesn't want to unfold. Okay, and I am going to hold it a little bit so that it doesn't pucker up on me. And I'm going to stitch number 2, which is going to be the tack down line for this batting, and then we're going to trim it. I had a little trouble with the pre-recorded video, just to warn you. I hadn't done that bugs and hisses block for a while, and I had forgotten that I had to move it. So I did make a little mistake in the video. Actually, I didn't make a mistake. I caught it before I did it, just so you know. It's just me. So I just left it in. Okay, let's see here. So it's going around for the second time. I'm going to find my scissors. Now for the, just so you know, for the Velveteen, I did not put shape flex on the back of this Velveteen. It's a fairly heavy fabric, so I did not put shape flex on the back of this. I do on most of my background pieces, if they're cotton, but this I didn't. All right, so now we're going to trim our batting. If I can get this big hoop out of here. Okay, so we're going to trim our batting close to the stitches. I like to use these little Ginger double curved embroidery scissors. These are like the most awesome scissors because you can get really close to things. They have a very sharp tip on the end so that if you're trying to get close to little teeny details, it's really nice. All right, so I'm going to lay my batting up there. It's very hard with these bigger hoops to try to trim in the hoop, so you're not going to get to see me trim this side. See if I can get it turned around here. When you get these big hoops in the machine, it's harder to turn things. You turn this one upside down so you can see this part. There we go. All right, getting close to the stitches. And then the next step will be the placement line for the fabric. And of course, you know, I unthreaded my machine as well. Rethread. Okay, get this turned around again. This is kind of a large hoop. I was so surprised when I saw this block. I was like, oh, and the first time I made this quilt or this pillow, I was at the store and I only have an 8x8 hoop at the store. So I had to do this one at home, this block. My sample, I had to do this one at home because I didn't have the big enough hoop there. I have a smaller machine that I use at the store, so. And it's very rare, actually, that Kimberbell uses larger hoops. You know, for the most part, everything's like 6x10 or less. And I was kind of surprised that they did this one this large, but it just turned out that way. So, all right. So then we're going to lay our fabric over our placement line. So then we know we got this all centered. So I'm just going to center it the best I can. And it's going to stick to that batting a little bit, just so you know. So we're going to try to get it as centered as possible here. The backing kind of sticks to the batting. That looks pretty good. Okay. All right, put that in there. And then step number 4 will be the tack down line for the fabric. So if you can do this in one hooping, it sure makes it a lot easier, doesn't it? And I think I got my grain going. I don't know which way it's going. It doesn't really matter, but I think I probably should have done it the other way, but you know, it's fine. I think it might be going this way. I should have flipped it over, but I'm not going to take it out now. I think my other one is kind of sideways too. I don't really notice it in the pillows. So in fact, I'm going to check it. I think yeah, it is. Actually, it's actually the opposite way in the pillow. So, all right. So there is our fabric for the background. So the next step will be the quilting. So it's gonna do this really cute spider web design. So I picked kind of my favorite quilting designs. So the ones that my favorite ones were um, the Halloween one, which is the spider webs. And then I think the Halloween 4 was the one with all the little candy corns in it, like flowers. It was really cute. So those are the two I picked. And then I picked one that was not Halloween. That was more of a geometric shape. I think that was a chevron. So sorry, my machine's moving a lot today. So there's even a little spider in there, and it's so cool because you can really see the quilting in the that velveteen is so cool. They did not put anything over the top. I mean, technically we should be putting a topper on, but it'd be way too hard to get it out. So I really liked this block. I thought it was cool. So you got to skip like the first 2 lines full of instructions if you're doing the quilting in the hoop. It's so much easier. You have to do all the lining up and everything. So is everybody doing the quilting as you go, or are people going to quilt it at the end? Do they like to? Maybe some of you like to free motion quilt and are going to quilt it after it's all done. I'm not very good at that, so I like that I can quilt this in the embroidery machine. Everybody's very quiet tonight. Yeah, and I really thought that 4 quilting designs was probably enough. I mean, it's not a real big pillow, so the 9 or something, 8 or 9 that it was in the original one, and my original one is done with the 8 or 9 because I had them all, but it seemed like a lot to ask people to buy, so I just decided to cut it down a little bit. And this one does take a little bit to quilt because there's actually quite a few stitches in this one. So we'll have a little bit longer class tonight because we'll do this one and then there's one other one we'll do. But I really wanted to do full blocks and not do any pre-sewing for any of these, so that you could have a video with a full block. This is really going to be pretty. I love this velveteen. Oh, and I've been working on are you planning on doing the cup of cheer? I have not decided. I doubt it this year, Donna. I have a tendency to do everything the year after it comes out because I can never get to it. I've already planned all my classes for the winter, so it's hard for me to do stuff when they come out like that. So I will probably do it, but maybe not till next year. I think it would be pretty in a contrasting color. Mine does show, actually. The color is not exact, so it does show. And when you look at my pillow, you can actually see the quilting quite well. I will be doing okay, so the cuties will start in January, but I'm still just trying to decide what to do about the January one. We may actually start with the February one and end with the January one in December. I haven't decided yet. The Kimberbell cuties are weird because of the 12 of them, the one will have to be done differently because of the way the way that the little snowmen are in the corner. They're like in the seam allowance. So I have to do those differently than the other 11. So I may actually start with February and do that in January, and then go back to January's and do it in December. Because then I have time to decide how I want to do that. Because I have to do that one differently. I already have a plan, but not sure that I should use that plan. So I have to maybe formulate a different plan. But I've been working on, we're going to be doing, for some of you that are new, I think I've got some new people here tonight. I had a bunch of people join the group this week. We are going to also be doing in the store. We're going to be doing, and virtually, we're going to be doing Home Sweet Haunted Home, the Kimberbell event, and it's also Halloween. And I've been working on the projects for that. I'll show you those at the end of the class. So they're really fun, and that is September 22nd and 23rd. It's a Thursday and a Friday, and you can either take it virtually or you can take it in the store. So either store, either the Davenport store or the Iowa City store, or virtually. But no, you can see the stitching. See, my color is not exact, but so you can see it. And the reason I didn't do contrasting is because I figured if I did it really, I often make my quilting more subtle than I do like really dark. So you could put black here, but I think it would distract from your applique, and that's why I normally do my quilting in fairly matching thread, so that it doesn't distract from the applique that's in the block. So that's my reasoning. And you could do this in black, but I think it would be maybe just a little bit too much with the hat in there, because the hat's black and white polka dot, and it might be a little bit too much. So, all right. So we're still doing some spider webs. This one takes a little bit, so I'm sorry, guys, but I knew you'd like to see it, the whole block done. And then I have scheduled the part 2 to go up during this class, so it should be going up at about 7 o'clock, and then you'll be able to watch the other 3 blocks. And if you're working on them, you can just continue working right after class. I did that this morning, got them all scheduled. Sometimes Facebook's a little weird when you schedule, but I got it to work. So they appear to be available at 7 o'clock. So, all right, let's see here. Make sure I got all my pieces. Then we're going to do, let's see. Oh yeah, they do have you, I couldn't remember if they had your press on the Velveteen or not, but they did. So I will a little bit. I've got my bigger iron. While this is sewing, I could go grab my little one too, just a second. I like my little iron for doing the little pressing. It's easier to get them in the hoop. So I think I'll get that while this is stitching. I always have so much stuff on my desk over here. Okay, get my little iron heated up here. We'll need that. I'm not used to using this great big hoop. We often don't get to do the large hoops. With Kimberbell, most of the time it's 6x10 is usually about the biggest one they do. So it was so funny when I took this to the store and I was working away and I was pulling everything out and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't going to work. Because I have a 5200, a VM 5200 I sew on there. I really like the machine, but it's only got an 8x12 hoop. So I had to alter my plan for that day. So we're getting closer here. This was a really cool quilting design. I think we're going to do, we're going to start the applique then. I think they start with the little spider. And so this is cool because the hat has a little spider on the top. But the block that I do in the pre-recorded video, the second part, that Bugs and Hisses, has like a little piece of rickrack that goes up to the hat that looks like a little spider web. So it's real cute. And they connect together. So we must be getting about done. I think we got a couple more little spider webs here. Make sure my little iron turned on. I think it did. Oh. Yep, that little iron gets hot. I love that little Nifty Notions mini iron. I just love them. Those are up on the website. And they work great for doing the little bit of, like pressing your glitter vinyls and stuff. Because they're small enough even to go in that little 4x4 hoop. So, and they easily fit in a 5x7 too. All right, one more. I think we got one more spider web. I thought this one was cute though. It even has little spiders in it. So we have to do the other corner. I think that was, I think that's the last one. So hopefully everybody had a nice day. It's been a really beautiful, beautiful day here in Iowa. I know there's some of you that are not from Iowa. So we are had a beautiful day. It's only in the 70s today and it's sunny and started out kind of cloudy, but it's been beautiful today. I've been working on stuff for the class on Wednesday, so I kind of hung out in my crafting room today. All right, we're getting about there. Okay, I think that is it. We did it. So all of the quilting is done. Isn't that cool? Can you see it? Can you see the nice texture? Is that cool? I really like that. Okay, so now we're going to go on to the actual start of the block. And it is going to be the little, it's the little spider. So we're going to start out with the spider. So I'm going to put in my black thread. Does anybody need me to put the list of colors on the post so that you have the exact colors I used? Okay, so now we're going to do so it's just a little spider. So it's going to start out by doing the little, has like a little spider web and then his little legs. And then it's going to do a placement line for the glitter vinyl. So that's the part that we're going to use for the applique. Yes, colors, please. Okay. Yep, I will. There's not too many colors in this one, so I'll just make a little list in the post. So does the little spider web, and this is going to be like off the top of the hat. Get my glitter. Now the glitter vinyl, remember that you need to remove the clear plastic carrier sheet, and mine is already off because I think this was a strap. So I don't have, mine's already off. I keep every little scrap of glitter vinyl because I cut it up into all these little pieces. Now it's going to do his legs. Spiders have 8 legs, right? I think they do. Yeah, I kind of like the orange. You can still see it. It's just a little bit lighter than the and I've noticed too that this Velveteen, the dye lots are different because the last one I had was much oranger. This one's a little bit more on the rusty cut side, and my thread actually shows a little bit more on this one. Getting some legs here. And then we got our little placement line right here for the glitter vinyl. Or get my glasses ready to do the trimming. All right, so we're going to put our glitter vinyl on and then we're going to tack it down. Now this is a raw edge applique, just so you know. So we're just going to cover that up. Now you can tape it if you want. I don't like to tape on this Velveteen too well, so I'm just going to hold it. It might kind of slide a little bit. I just got regular bobbin thread in my bobbin, and I use pre-wound, so I've got a pre-wound, and then I've also got number 11 embroidery needle in. Okay, so now we're going to trim. Whoops, second here. We're going to trim fairly close to the stitches. I like to leave maybe an eighth, a little less than an eighth of an inch all the way around when I do these, because this is actually raw edge applique, so there's not going to be a covering for this. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So you want your edges to look pretty nice. You know, that's what you're gonna see. So don't have any big, like I did, kind of a lump there. Trying to make it smooth if I can. I'm gonna turn it this way, see if I can get this part. All right. There we go. There's our little spider. Now we're gonna go ahead and I'll just tip the camera up here so you can see. I like the quilting too, isn't it cool? Okay, so I'm going to tip this up so you can see I've got my little wool mat over here on my roundabout, and I'm just going to take my pressing cloth, and actually I'm just going to use a piece of my applique fabric since it's so small. Yeah, maybe not. I might go get my bigger one. No, I think this will be big enough. I'm just going to lay this over the top of that glitter vinyl. This is just a piece of my applique fabric. And I'm just going to press down on it for about 20 seconds. I did press too hard on this velveteen because I didn't want to make a mark on it. But they did tell you to do that at the bottom of page 8, like in step number 11. Okay. So there is our little, and you can kind of see where you press a little bit. That's why I was surprised that they had you press it, but they must have thought you needed to. All right. So let's go ahead and put this back in, and then we're going to do, I think the next step is going to be it's the hat. No, is his little eyeballs. We have to do his little eyeballs first. That's why I couldn't see it. We're going to go back to white thread for a second and do his little eyeballs. You know, the little spider has to be able to see. So we'll do that. All right. Yeah, so this will come up a little bit. I was surprised that they had you press it, but they did. And I think I have a little spot on mine too, so. Okay, so there's the little eyeballs. Looks like I have my normal little tail, so we'll get rid of that. There we go. Okay, now we are going to go to the hat applique. So I'm going to put my black back in again. I've been playing thread chicken with this white. I still have white left. See, look. I've been every time I put it in, I think, oh, it's gonna be gone this time, but it just never seems to go away. So I'll keep using it. All right, so we're gonna put the black back in and get ready for the hat. So I think we're gonna do the top of the hat first. So this is gonna be the placement line for the top of the hat. That's gonna be the bigger piece of applique fabric here. Looks like I had scraps, so I've always got ravels on the edges. And then we'll put this one on. Yep. Yep, the long skinny ones for the brim. Okay, so this is going to be for the hat. So we're going to slip this over the hat. Should we get it all covered up here? So we're going to have a black polka dot witch hat. And then we're going to tack it down. So this is step number 10 in the machine because, you know, we added 5. So then we'll trim this one. And this is a little bit, you kind of want to hold it down just a little bit because there's quite a little bit of bulk in there. Oh, move my camera back. Sorry, guys. Thank you. I thought I twisted it, but I didn't twist it enough. Thank you, Deb. You guys got to watch me. Okay. So then we're going to trim this one. Most of the stitches. Now this one's going to have satin stitches around it, so maybe if I can get a hold of it. There we go. So this one's going to have satin stitches around it. Cover it up. Yeah, so I did some stamping this afternoon so I could get ready for Wednesday's class. I wanted to do we're going to do some scan and cut stuff, and I needed some things to cut out for you. So I stamped some stuff this weekend. Okay, so now it's going to do the little, brim. So we're going to do our placement line for the brim. I'm going to leave the black in for that. Let's see here. Yep. That's the long skinny piece here. What have I got ravels on this one? I'd have a lot of scraps, so I do cut most of my cutting out of my scraps. Need this long skinny piece, and so it's pretty big, so we're going to have to make sure we get it covered here. Okay, and make sure we get that all covered. I'm going to get it. I think so. All right. Then we're going to do the next step, which will be to tack it down. And then we'll trim this one. Now I do kind of hold these because, like I said, this, the Velveteen kind of scooches just a little bit. All right. Long and skinny. Yeah, it would. Isn't it cute? It would be cute just to you could make like a bench buddy out of it. It's about that size, see? Wouldn't that be cute just by itself? Yeah, this was one of my favorite blocks, so I wanted to do this one in the class. I know it takes a little longer than some of them, but I figure you can hang out with me and we'll just sew together tonight. This is like my favorite thing on Sunday night. I get to hang out with my friends and sew and make cute things. It's my favorite thing to do. All right, so we're going to trim this one. I've been really enjoying, I moved I told you we had water in the basement a couple weeks ago, and I got everything moved up, and I've been enjoying my little room upstairs for my stamping and my crafting. So it's been kind of fun. All right. Somebody's saying hi. Hi, Cindy. All right. So here is the hat's done. So I think the next one is going to be the hat brim. So I'm going to go ahead and change over to my purple because I made a purple hat brim. Let me get my purple here. And where to go? Here it is. I've got one of those spools that I've been playing chicken with the purple too, but I went ahead and put that in my other box for Halloween because this one I know I was afraid. Whoops, sorry, I made it mad. I was afraid I'd run out going around the satin stitch around this little hat band. So here's our little hat band. So we're gonna do the placement line first, and then we'll put the hat band on. I like this. This is one of my favorite purples that they have. Okay, so then we're going to cover this up and trim this one down. And I am going to hold this, and they tell you to tape. I just don't like to tape on the Velveteen, so I usually just hold it. Just watch your fingers. And I don't do a lot of taping. I'm not a big taper. So, and then we'll trim this one. And then we're going to just do the satin stitching. All right. Get the trimming done, and then we'll on to satin stitching. And of course, they always you have to go back to black now. So I'm going to have to change the color to black because I think they satin stitched this last. Okay. And around this side. All right. Whoops. Didn't do a very good job on that one, did I? All right. Let's put the black back in, and then we're going to start satin stitching the hat. Oh, Marianne, you cut some with the scan and cut? Yeah. So I'm going to do on Wednesday on the Shields Sewing Center Facebook page, we're going to do Shields Live for those of you who have never, I mean, like I said, I've got some new people here I know tonight. So we're going to be doing some direct cut and scan to cut data stuff with the scan and cut. And I'm learning to stamp and to stamp and like color my stamps and all that, and I wanted to be able to cut out my stuff. So that's one of the, I've had people asking me about it too, so I decided we'd do that on Wednesday. So we're gonna do some cutting and cut out some of our stamps. And so lots of companies put dies with their stamps, or you have to buy them separate. So it is really cool that you can use the scan and cut actually to get the same effect as having a steel rule die that you would cut out your dies with, or your stamps with. So it's pretty cool. So that's what we're going to do on Wednesday. So if some of you are around on Wednesday afternoon at 2 o'clock, that's what we're going to be doing on the Shield Sewing Center Facebook page. We'll do a live, and then it will be there and also on YouTube later that day. So if you miss it, if you're working, you can't come. So it's pretty cool. So now we're going to do the satin stitch. And you can also cut, so tomorrow I'm going to work on it some more. You can also cut out like fussy cut pieces out of your fabrics. So I'm also going to use that function to cut some like cute things out of my fabrics, and then you can use the file you create in the scan and cut as a embroidery design if you have some digitizing software. So that's pretty cool. So we'll do a couple little fun things with that. So while we're doing the satin stitches here, so maybe while we're doing the satin stitches, I'll show you the projects that I've been working on for the Kimberbell event. I'm going to get my iron out of here so before I knock it over. So I'll pull these up for you so you can see them. So while this is stitching. So I have been working on Home Sweet Haunted Home. It's a 2-day event. And so I got this done last week. I might have showed this to you last week. So this is the towel, and it's called Dead and Breakfast Inn. So I got this one done and put little fringe on the bottom. I think you're supposed to put pom-poms, but I ran out of pom-poms. So here's Dead and Breakfast Inn. So this is really cute. This is a towel. And there's several projects, and most of them have multiple hoopings. But this was, I think, my favorite project. Here's the little pumpkin. Isn't it adorable? So you take the Velveteen. This is that Velveteen here. And you quilt it. And you make a tube. And then you stuff it and make it into a little pumpkin. And then you put the little pumpkin, with some like craft wire. And this is felt that you roll up. Isn't that adorable? So that's one of the projects. This takes a little bit because you have to do a couple of hoopings. Yeah, the little house. So that's the next thing. I've got a little house. So there's a little house. And they have this adorable little metal tray that you can put these in that has little scallops on it. So I have that too. Now the only thing that's not done on my little house is I don't have my little cat button because I only had one, and Lynn got me another cat button. So here's the little house, and you put the little tea lights in there, like the little pixie lights, and make it. And then this is like organza, or not organza, it's chiffon. So the lights show through the little windows, and they're yellow. But look at the little house, all these little details, little fence, and look at the little spider with the spider web. It's just adorable. And here's has a little pumpkin on the front and on the side. So this is the little house. So that was fun. So that's another one of the projects. There's several hoopings for this. And then I love making pillows, and this was so much fun. So this is the, I don't know if you can see it. I'll put it this way so you can see it a little more. This is the back pillow. So you do part of this is several hoopings. You do 2 hoopings, and so here's the there's different kinds of felt. There's felt and glitter vinyl, and then leather, and you do those in the machine, and then you make lace bats also, and put them on too. So these are 3-dimensional. And then here they have you put little pom poms on the corners. And I had to make my own pom poms out of, couldn't find any big black ones around here, so I actually made them out of yarn and just used my yarn pom pom maker and made black pom poms. So there's my pillow. So that was really fun to do. That was, yes, the bonus CD is cute too, and it is the little, it's like a little garland with Halloween things on it. I have not done that yet. Lynn usually does the bonus CDs for me, so I've got all the projects done though. So those are for Home Sweet Haunted Home, and we're going to be doing that in September. So if you, and that it will all be recorded also, so if you can't come those 2 days, if you really want to take it, you can take it, and then all the videos will be available. So there'll be a video for each day. So it's getting there. We're going around the bottom of the hat hoop here, or the hat brim. I love, this is one of my favorite fabrics too, is that little polka dot, the teeny tiny little polka dots. So anyway, that's what I've been working on those this week. I like Halloween, so been working on those and getting ready for the Shields Live. And the next week for Shields Live, I think I'm going to do the embroidered couching that's on the luminaire. So I have to get busy and work on that this week. There's always something to do, you know. Keeps me out of trouble. They don't let me out very much, so. Looks like we're doing pretty good. It's going around the hat brim, and then we'll do the purple, and we'll be done. Then we'll do some trimming. Let me get my stuff out of the way here so we can trim over here. Wake up my iron. All right. It's just about done, and then we'll do the little pumpkins. The pumpkins are adorable. But this way everybody gets to have all of the blocks from start to finish, even though I pre-recorded some of them, but I wanted to make sure that everybody felt comfortable, because some of the blocks on these were, you know, they have quite a little bit of things in them, and like next week's blocks are mostly like pieced blocks, so they're like paper piece blocks, most of them. And they did the applique ones kind of early on in the book, and then the second half were the paper piece ones. So slowly but surely we're making our way around. I knew this one would take the longest because it's actually one of the larger blocks. So, and then we'll trim. And the second block is going to be the pumpkin row one, and that one is done, I think, in a 6x10 hoop. So it'll be that one will go a little faster. But I knew we'd probably be here about 2 hours. When we did when we did Sweet Land of Liberty, it was always about 2 hours because we have to do 2 blocks. So I figured it would be. You can hang out as long as you like and come and go as you please. So I'll just be here sewing. I got my dad fed, so he's already had his supper tonight. I'll eat after a while. And I even got the groceries ordered. I was actually kind of proud of myself. I got all that stuff done this afternoon. It's getting just about around. Gotta find my purple again, wherever I put it. Get ready for the hat band. So is anybody else doing Halloween stuff this last couple weeks? I love Halloween stuff. I need to remember to do Halloween because I like fall too. So I've got some fall things planned for October. All right. We got all the way around. Now we're ready for the hat band. Then we'll be done with this one. Okay. Well, I knew it'd be about an hour for the first one because we had to talk a little bit about cutting and that stuff. All right. So we'll get this one and purple for the hat band. And this is the last step. And we'll do the satin stitch on the hat band. Let's see here. And then we're going to trim it. And this one is going to be trimmed with at 8.5 by 8.5. And then we'll add pull flowers to this one. This is the one that had the pull flowers. Oh, you're cutting out Puppeteer? Yes, Puppeteer I'm sure takes a while to cut because those quilts, that's more the size of the older quilts. And oh my gosh, it just took forever to cut out all those pieces. So a pretty good size. Oh, you're making Halloween quilts? Yeah, I love Halloween stuff. I just don't make that much Halloween stuff, and I've done several things. I mean, like, you know, I'm doing this, and then I did the event too, so it's been kind of fun. Get to do something different. But Puppeteer looks like it's really glass fabric now while listening to you all back. Oh, cool! That's awesome. So that's, who is that? Oh, is that Mary? Yeah, they take a while to cut out those bigger quilts. So just about done. Okay, let me see here. Make sure I got all my. Oh, here's my rulers. Get my rulers ready so we can trim this. And you guys will have to watch me again to make sure I put the camera down. May have to move the camera over so you can see what I'm doing. So cute with the little spider hanging out off the top of the hat. Satin stitching always takes a little bit. This was kind of a simple block, but it just had a lot of stitches in it. That's cool. Other people doing, are other people working on some of the Kimberbell projects? I got to get back to the Kimberbell cuties, the table toppers. So I think I kind of decided how I was going to do it. So I need to get busy and start working on a few more of them. They are really fun to do. And I finally got it figured out how to do the quilting and everything, so I don't have to do anything, you know, like manually. All right, there is our hat. So now we're going to do some trimming here, and then we'll go on to the second block. Yay! Okay, I'm going to take this out of the hoop. Give me a second here. Let's go ahead, and I'm just going to put the machine into the sewing mode so I can move the camera over so you can see. It's easier if the arm is out of the way for the camera. So I'll just move this over, and then we'll come back for the second block. So you can see me cut this one. Yeah, the table toppers will be fun. The table toppers, I was going to do it with the store, like on Zoom, but I am going to do the table toppers on So Long with Jan here. So you don't have to sign up, and it'll just be a couple of weeks every month, starting in January. So, all right, so let's go ahead and trim this. So we're going to trim this down to 8.5 by 8.5. Second here, I got to get my hoop out of here. And I don't think I need to press this one. This one should be okay for me to trim. Usually, I usually like to press, you know, along the edges, but this one really didn't need to be pressed. So, because of the fabric, I think it's a little heavier. All right, And we have a nice little line around here, of course, you know, to kind of help us get this lined up the way we want it. So I'm going to kind of look at my tack down line and get it all lined up in there. And then we will trim this. And this is my 8.5 by 8.5 inch orange pop ruler. Oops, make sure, oops, a second here. I gotta turn it over. The little grippers around the top. Thought it looked a little funny. See, you guys aren't watching me. You have to watch me, especially on Sunday night. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and trim this. When are you getting the, where am I getting the fabric for the table toppers? Honestly, I'm just pulling out of my stash, Cindy, because I'm gonna have to pull this over a little bit. I'm gonna start up a little bit and then pull back into the corner. Now remember, I'm left-handed, so I'm starting on the right. If you're right-handed, you're going to start on the left, okay? And I like to start in the block a little ways, like in here a little bit, and then I pull back into the corner because that seems to work better for me. I've been pulling out of my stash, but there were a couple of places that have the kits if you want to buy kits. One of them was my girlfriend's quilt shop in Utah, my girlfriendsquiltshop.com. So here it is, trimmed to 8.5 by 8.5. So isn't that awesome? It looks really good. So there's our hat. You're right, Marianne. I think it was Marianne that said, wouldn't that be a cute pillow just by itself? You can put the little flower on here and it'd be adorable just by itself. It's the same size as the bench buddies. Okay, so let's go back and do another block. So let's see. Oh, the October one, cool. So anyway, the Kimberbell Cuties, I am just pulling from my stash and cutting my own. But there were two places that have the kits. My girlfriend's quilt shop has the kits in Utah, and then also there's a little company out in either North or South Carolina that I've bought quite a few things from. It's called Wish Upon a Quilt, and they have like a monthly club for the Kimberbell Quilt Cuties, so you can sign up for that, and then you get a kit every month. So that's kind of cool. All right, so we got our first block done. Let's go ahead and do our pumpkins now. So the other ones that I did in the video I'll show you the ones I did in the video. So the second block, this is the first block. I did the Bugs and Hisses. This is Bugs and Hisses. And here's that one. So I did this one in the pre-recorded video, and you'll be able to watch that later. Okay. And you do the little rickrack on that one, and that's going to go down below the hat. And then let's see, the next block is the house. So I did that one in the pre-recorded video, so you'll be able to see that. So here's the little house and the little haunted house, and this one is the one that says home is where the haunt is. So that one was really fun. And then the next block, I believe, is, yes, our pumpkin row. So I'll show you the last block. So the pumpkin row is the other one we're going to do. Will you give us a material supply? Okay, so the way the Kimberbell Cuties work is you just need to buy the Kimberbell Cuties book, and then there's also a CD with the embroidery designs, because they were originally a sewing pattern. So they did the embroidery later. And then all of the information about them is in the book. So we have those up on our website, shieldsewingcenter.com. If you just look for Kimberbell Cuties, the CD and the book will come up. And so you have to buy both, because if you want to do it by embroidery, you got to have the embroidery design CD too. So. All right, so this one, we're going to use a 6x10 hoop. And now this one, for my background fabric, I did put a piece of Shape Flex on the back of my fabric. So here's my fabric with the Shape Flex on the back, okay? And this is the little orange polka dot. So the cotton fabrics, I usually put straight flex on the back. So we got that. And then we're going to do, let's see, this one is going to be 4x8. Oh, the chevron. So I use the chevron for this one, for the quilting. So I'm going to choose my quilting designs, Kimberbell Quilting. This is called Chevron 1. Gotta find it here. C, Jan. C, there we go, Chevron 1. There it is. And then this one was 4x8. Now I want my chevrons to be horizontal this way. So let's see, we want 4x8. So there's 4x4, 4x6, 4x8. So I want my chevrons, instead of going this way across the long way, I want them to go this way. So I'm going to choose this one so that they're going this direction. You know, they look like they're up and down, but my pumpkin is going to be that way. Okay. So that's the one I wanted to do. You can do the other one if you like, but this is the way I wanted to do it. And then we're going to choose the pumpkin row. So I'm going to hit set here. I got my quilting design that's 4x8, and you can see though that it's actually 4.5 by 8.5. Okay. Then I'm going to hit add down here, and I'm going to go get my pumpkin row off my USB stick. And home is where the haunt is. And it is right. Let's see, where is it here? Oh, there it is. 5x7 pumpkin row. Make sure I get the right one. Yep. And I'm going to set that one. Now this one's also going to be centered, so I don't have to do anything to my design here. Okay. All right. So we are going to start with this one. And I think this one, yeah, I did do my quilting in white. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my white thread. You suppose I'll get rid of my white thread that I've been trying to get rid of? It'll probably run out in the middle of this one, so we'll see how it goes here. At least be able to use it for a little bit anyway. All right. So, but anyway, was it Anna? Yeah. So the list of information is in the book. All the fabrics and everything you need is in that Kimberbell Cuties book. So, but those will start in January. All right. So let me get my little kit here. Here's my background fabric. Here's all my little pieces. So let's see here. There's some fabrics for the pumpkin row. Get rid of my baggie and my little note. And we're going to have a little piece of the Velveteen for a pumpkin. And we're going to have some glitter vinyl. Now this one I've also removed. It must have been a scrap. So I've already removed the carrier sheet. Make sure you take that off. And then a couple pieces of fabric. Okay. All right, so there's all of our little pieces. And then we're going to start out, since we're going to be quilting this, of course, we're going to start out. I've got my white thread in there. Whoops, I still have my flipper down. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch out step number 1, which is going to be my placement line for my batting. I'm going to find my batting scrap back here. I always have things scattered all over. Sometimes it's hard to find it. But so the cuties are going to be really fun. I'm really looking forward to doing those. But the January one is done differently than the other 11. So we may do that one last and just start with February. What did you use for stabilizer? Again, I used my no-show mesh stabilizer, and I've got my batting ready for my piece here. So I've got my placement line, and here's my. So anytime I'm using the batting, we're using no-show mesh stabilizer, since we're quilting. And then it just stays in. It's soft, so it can just stay in the quilt. Okay, so then we're gonna put the batting down, and we're going to tack it down. I always have to kind of smooth it out. Sometimes it likes. And what size hoop? This is a 6x10. So the design is 4.5 by 8.5. So I put it in a 6x10. It's a little bit too big for a 5x7. So 6 by 10 is what I've got it in. What is my favorite batting? My favorite batting is, this is Hobbs 80/20. So it's a blend. It's 80% cotton and 20% polyester. So the reason I like it is because it is got a little bit of loft to it. It's not too much. And then I think all the quilted things look better because they have just a little bit more definition for the quilting. The project batting is very, very flat, and you don't really see the quilting. It's very flat. And this is so nice because it's just a little bit of a loft. It's not too much. Still very soft. And I think you can see the quilting nice. I like that definition in the quilting. And I use this for long arming as well because you get that same definition, of course. A little bit more loft than just 100% cotton. Okay, so I trimmed around the batting, and then the next step will be, of course, and it's always the same, it's going to be the placement line for the fabric. So I gotta get my fabric ready here. I just love these little all the little polka dots. I use quite a bit of the polka dot fabric in this one. I think I'm starting to sound like I need a new bobbin, so I may do that quickly before we go on, because you know certainly I will run out of bobbin thread in the middle of this. So let me grab a bobbin. It's starting to sound kind of clicky in there. Let's pull this out. I had a pretty new bobbin when I started. Yeah, it's getting pretty close. I'm just going to go ahead and change it since I've got it open. All right. And I use pre-wound bobbins, so I'm going to pull a little bit of the bobbin thread off before I put it in. They're always a little on the tight side. If you don't pull a little bobbin thread off, they're a little tight in the bobbin case. All right. I can always tell when it's time to get a new bobbin, though, because I can hear the clicking going on. So, all right. Oops. Gonna have fabric all over the floor next. All right, so then we got our placement line for our fabric, and now we're going to lay the fabric in here. Try to get it centered as much as you can. All right, and then we're going to tack it down. So that's the fourth step, is always the tack down for the fabric. Yeah, there's lots of good batting out there, but I've been using Hobbs for a long time, so that's about all I have now. And then, of course, well, let's see. I don't know. I think we're going to make it with my thread chicken. I think we're going to make it. So the next step is going to be the quilting, and it's going to be the chevron. So let's see if we make it with the spool of thread I've got. There's still quite a little bit of thread on there, so I bet you we'll make it. So we're going to do the chevrons. Now these had several different colors. I think I did 2 different colors of orange for these, and for some reason I didn't write it down, so I'm just going to look at my pillow behind me. Let's see. I think I did, yeah, darker orange and lighter orange. So I better lay the pillow next to me so I can see. Forgot to write it down. Well, let's see. We're still working with the same spool of thread. Let's see how we do here. But see, with the Hobbs, with the little bit of loft, can you really see? I just love that I can see the quilting. And sometimes with the project batting, it's so flat, I don't see the quilting. I love that little bit of a definition, and it just gives it a little bit more poof. So it depends on what you like. You don't want to use a real heavy batting. The one batting I tell you not to use is Warm and Natural because it's so hard and it makes everything very stiff. You know what? We're still going to have white thread on that spool of thread. Can you believe it? Because it's done quilting. Look at there. So now we're going to go on to, oh, I'm going to need to get to use the green too. So we're going to go on to the pumpkins. And let's see, the first pumpkin is which one? So now we're actually in the steps of the block, and I think, oh, it's going to do the glitter pumpkin first. So that one I did with the darker orange, which is the Orange Aid. So I'm going to do that one first. So we'll put that one in. And what pre-wound bobbins do I use? Okay, so the only pre-wound bobbins that I have ever had good luck with is I have been using NEB bobbins for years and years and years. Probably 20 years, and that's the only ones I've used all this time. If you have a fairly new machine, you most likely will need to use the tight bobbin case in your machine, the one that has like the purple or bluish dot in it, with the pre-wounds of any kind, any pre-wound bobbin. But my favorite ones are, there's two that I've used that have worked really well. NEBs I've been using for years and years. The other one is the Filtech Class A, the Class 15 bobbins. So those are fine, but you do have to use the tight bobbin case with the pre-wounds. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and lay my glitter vinyl down here, and this one actually does have a satin stitch around it. And I shouldn't have turned off my little iron. So I need to go press this a little bit. I need to wiggle my iron over here. I forgot we had one more piece of glitter vinyl to do. So I'm going to take this over to my ironing board. Can you get black pre-wound bobbins? Yes, you can. I very, very, very rarely use a black bobbin. I sell about 2 or 3 spools of black bobbin thread a year. So I very rarely use black bobbin thread myself. I think I have about 12 bobbins in my drawer, and they've been there for years. All right, so we're going to trim this, and then I'm going to go over and I'll press it. I forgot to leave my little iron on, so I'll have to go over and use my big one. All right, get around here. I just love glitter vinyl. That's like one of my favorite things on these. I love the glittery stuff. I'm going to go press this down real quick, just a second. Get my pressing cloth, cover it up with the pressing cloth. About 20 seconds or so works pretty well. All right. So there is my glitter pumpkin. And now we're going to do, which one goes next? I think it's actually the one next to it. And so that one I use the lighter color orange. So I'm going to go ahead and change over to my lighter color orange. Probably could just leave this one in. I might just leave this one in. But when I do the satin stitches, I'll change them because I want some of them are a little bit lighter, but it won't show. Is this Kimberbell glitter? I'm not sure. Somebody else said this was Kimberbell glitter. I'm not sure. I use a lot of scissor glitter vinyl and for with my heat press. So I'm not sure if this could be the Kimberbell or it could be the scissor, one or the other. They're basically the same colors. So all right, so then we're gonna do, let's see, I think it's this one that we do next. This one up here. Yep. So this one with the little. So I did go ahead and just leave the same color in, but I'll make this one a lighter orange when I do the satin stitch. So we're going to lay that over there. This is just a piece of fabric. And then, see here. Oh, I got a little piece of white thread hanging out there. And then we're going to tack this one down. And of course, I just dropped another piece of fabric on the floor, so excuse me while I try to reach it. I spend most of my time picking up my scissors. So yes, I use Kimberbell glitter, but I do have an enormous amount of other glitter, so I use that as well. Okay, so we're going to trim this one, and then I think the next one is going to be the other piece of fabric. So we'll do this one. This was a fast one. I loved this. This was one of my favorite blocks too. I just really enjoyed doing this pillow a lot. And then the Sweet Land of Liberty one was really fun. The blocks were not real hard, and they just made up so cute. This one had more paper piece blocks though, so it actually had quite a lot of paper piecing. All right, so then let's see. The next pumpkin is going to be the other fabric one. So we're going to do the next placement line for the other piece of fabric here. You can tell I cut out of scraps. I always have lots of little rabbles. I keep every little piece of fabric because so often all you need is just a little teeny piece of fabric, you know. So I just keep every little piece. Okay, so then this one's going to go here. We're going to do the tack down. Turn my page here. This is on page 17 of the instructions. I'm turning to page 18 now, and then we're going to do the next one is going to be the little piece of what color are the dots? Oh, they're orange. Yeah, it's a little hard to see on the screen, isn't it? They're orange. This is the white with the little orange dots. I'm going to trim this one. These are all Kimberbell basics. I think the whole pillow was done with just basics. I bought a box that had all these fat quarters in it, and it had all the basics. So I have that too, and then I can, if I need a little bit bigger piece of fabric, I have that I'm working through as well. But I keep every little piece, and they have a tendency to overdo the fabric a little bit, like in the kits, like for the quilts and stuff. So I keep every little piece, and I usually have fabric to cut almost anything. All right, so then the last little pumpkin is going to be over here. How do you store my scraps? I will show you that in a minute. I can show you I can turn the camera and I can show you. I finally figured out a way that I can store my scraps that I can actually make sense of them. So we're going to do this one. See here. I think it goes this way, so I'll try to get this one, the grain going down. I'm not sure. I think maybe I succeeded here. All right, so this one's going to go over the last pumpkin. All right, and then we'll trim this one, and while they're satin stitching, I'll show you how I do my scraps. I just did this recently because I had two big, huge boxes full of scraps, and I could not find anything. And I cut so many kits, and I'm usually needing just little bits of fabric, just little small pieces, so much applique, that I decided, okay, there's got to be a way to do this that I can see the fabric and I can keep it organized by color. And then I have drawers that are not Kimberbell and drawers that are Kimberbell. So give me just a second and I will show you once we get the satin stitching going. All right, so which pumpkin does, oh, it's going to do the stems first. So we got that trimmed. Going to do the stems first. So I got to turn over, change to green to do the stems. All right, this is my lime green. This is the new lime green, so it's like 1070 something, 1072. So there's an old lime green. It's darker than this one. This is one of the newer colors. So we'll do the stems. Then when the satin stitches start, I'll show you my fabric. I'll roll it out while the music is going so you can kind of see. So I can point it the direction so you can see it. All right, so there's our first stem. Is there only 4? Yeah, there's only 4 on this. And then we'll start doing the satin stitches. I like this one too. I love that chevron pattern. It really looks very. You can really see it in the detail. And then let's see. I'm not sure which one it does first. Let's see the stems, and then I think it does the. Oh, it does the It does the glitter pumpkin first. So that was with a darker color. I used the darker one on this one and the darker one on this one. So I think that's the first one that goes. Yep, that's the one that goes. Okay, so let me get that. So I'm going to put the darker orange. This one's Orange Aid 1122. All right. And then it does, which one? I think it does a lighter colored one then next. So I'll get my other color up here. The other one's Pumpkin 126. That's one of the old colors. Okay, so my scraps. I have a little, this is a scrapbooking container. And the thing I like about it is that the drawers come out and they're plastic drawers. They're clear. Okay. And I have sorted my fabric by color and just have it folded in these little drawers. So you can see I have like, this one has my tans and browns and my blues and red in it. And I just have them folded flat. And these are clear drawers so I can see them. So this is Kimberbell. And so there's 6 drawers in here. So I wanted them to have these drawers so that I could take the drawers out completely. And then if I needed to carry them around, I could. So the first 3 drawers are Kimberbell fabrics by color. And then the last 3 drawers are non-Kimberbell fabrics by color. And then so I went through and I actually took out of all these boxes that I had and I ironed them and folded them. Judy helped me iron everything and fold everything one day, and we got it all organized so that I can find it. And I like the clear drawers because then I can see through and see what colors are in there. So like this is my grays, blacks, and whites. And this was my pinks, greens, and yellows. Okay. So, and then this is my non-Kimberbell fabric. So, you know, I've got like tans and grays in this one. Okay. So that's what worked for me. And it was in a container that I could take the drawers out of. And if I needed to take the drawer with me, I could just take the whole drawer with me. Where did I find it? I got this on, I bought this. This is actually kind of old. You could also label the drawers. Yes. I can see what's in them. So I know that the first 3 are Kimberbell and the last 3 are not Kimberbell. So I just didn't label them. But I got this on Walmart.com. And it's Iris is the name of the company that makes these. And these are actually scrapbooking containers. So I've got a couple more in my scrapbooking room and my stamping room. So, all right, so let's go ahead and do another pumpkin. So the next one is going to be this lighter colored one. Sure. Yep. This is this one. So that one I did with the lighter color orange. Let me grab that. God forbid we can leave the same orange in there for all of them, you know. So let's make that one lighter colored. All right. But yeah, so this, I just did this summer. Yes. Michael's, that's where I got this one originally, was Michael's. this whole drawer unit, but they don't have them anymore. And I love the little unit though because it wheels in and out from underneath my table. But I wanted it to be, the drawers to be removable so I could take the whole drawer with me. Because I just take, sometimes I'll just say, okay, I need red fabrics today to cut, and I can grab this whole drawer and just take this whole drawer with me. So I do love these. They're kind of expensive, but it was well worth it. And this is very old. I've had this container for some time. Probably, I bet you I've had that container for at least 10 years. So, but I did buy it at Michael's. That's where I got it originally. But I don't think they carry them in the store with the wheels. I got my new ones from Walmart.com. Because I got some 5-drawer ones for in my crafting room to put under my table because I needed them a little lower. And I got those at Walmart.com. That's how I do my scraps. It worked out for me anyway, and I do a lot of cutting. You know, I cut a lot of these little kits and stuff, and all I need is little pieces, and so I keep like everything, especially the Kimberbell fabric. All right, we're getting around this one, so then let's see, which one is it going to do next? Probably have to change the thread, I betcha. Oh yeah, you have to go up. We're going to go up and do the front one, so that one's going to be, well, maybe not. Maybe I did that one in a light color too. I think I did. Yeah, we get to leave the thread in this time. Yes, so I haven't labeled these drawers. I did label the drawers in my new one. What is the name of the drawers? They are Iris, and they're a scrap-looking drawer unit. So Iris, I-R-I-S. And the new ones I got, those, like I said, I got those at Walmart.com. But they were only 5-drawer, but I think they had the 6-drawer ones too on there. So I left the same thread in for the first pumpkin, and then I'm going to put the darker color orange back in here. But I did this about, maybe in May, April or May I did this because I was struggling because I have all this cutting to do. I could not find my fabric. And I mean, I literally had to dump the tub out on the table every time I cut. So I was getting tired of doing that. And now I can find everything. It just is so fast to cut. And that's how why I've been cutting my Kimberbell cuties, the little table toppers, out of my own fabric, because now I can actually find it, and I have actually quite a lot of fabric. I mean, I have more fabric. I have fabric in the drawers. This cabinet has 2 drawers units underneath of it in the front, and I have fabric in there too, but that's like yardage, you know, like half yard cuts or, you know, or that kind of thing. So I do have plenty of fabric that I can cut from. I still have to buy some sometimes. But I've been just trying to, now the Kimberbell cuties, like it must have been before they had Kimberbell had a fabric line, because those are made with other fabrics besides Kimberbell. So I figured, well, I'm just going to make them out of other things besides Kimberbell. I have some Kimberbell fabric in there. But they did not have, they must have, that was one of their first designs, and they must not have had a Kimberbell, you know, fabric line yet. So, all right, we're almost done. We got one more pumpkin. Let's see here. Now this one's going to be, I got my, should I have my rulers here? Find my other thread. We're going to put the dark thread down here. Yeah, Michael's has a lot less stuff in the store than they used to. That so much of their stuff's online now. I was really surprised. I used to go into the Michael's in Cedar Rapids and be able to find all kinds of stuff, and they just don't have like half the stuff in the store they used to. Must moved it all to the website. Okay, so we're going to put the darker orange back in. This is that orange aid, and do the last pumpkin, and then we'll trim it. So I got to make sure I got my rulers here. All right. right, getting around this one. This is the poofy one made out of the Velveteen. I like how they put all the different textures in this one. And this one's going to be cut down. This one's a little different. It has a more specialized. This one's 4.5 by 8.5, I think. Yeah, 4.5 by 8.5. So it's got kind of a specialized trimming. So we're going to get around this one. And we're almost done, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. This is such a fun project. It's nice to get all the blocks done. I've got 2 more blocks to do because I did the I pre-recorded. Oh, Walmart has the best price. That's why I ordered from there as well, because they had those drawers are pretty expensive, especially the 6-drawer ones. The 5-drawer ones I got like mine for like $40 some, 43 or something from Walmart.com. The 6-drawer ones are a little bit more, but I only needed 5 drawers. So, but these work great. And this is a 6-drawer. This is the one I bought. Like I said, I've probably had this 10 years. And I used to have like my paper and stuff in it, and I just needed something like this for my now, just so you know, the new ones from Walmart, the drawers are a little more, they're not as clear, they're a little more translucent, so you probably will have to label your drawers because you can't see quite as well through them. You can still see through them, but they're a little bit more kind of they're not white clear, they're a little bit on the white clear side, so you may have to label your drawers, but I did that with mine, the other ones. So all right, so there's our pumpkins. Look at there. I got my little tail I always have to cut off, and it looks pretty good. What do you think? We'll take those out and we'll trim them. Isn't it amazing how quickly we can click and order things online? Oh my gosh, I do that all the time. So, okay, so here's our pumpkin. So I'm going to take this out. If I label, I remember that's in, I know. Yes, and so I did label mine, but see, these I can tell by just looking through the drawers. They're clear enough, but the newer ones I did label them. Okay, because I just remember the top 3 drawers are Kimberbell and the bottom 3 drawers aren't. So, all right, so take this out. And I don't think I'm going to have to trim this. I think it'll be okay. So we're going to trim this one now. Okay. That is true. I actually order my groceries on Walmart.com every week, and I don't spend near as much money on groceries because I'm not impulse buying. So I'm going to move the camera over. Give me a second here, and we will trim our block. I like to put this in the sewing mode, then it gets the arm out of the way for the camera. Aren't these fun? They're so much fun. I've enjoyed these pillows so much. I really like the square ones. They're such a nice size, and they're not too big, but they're bigger than the little ones. And okay, so this one is going to be done. It's a little more specific. So we got our little hat here. Oh, and then here's the other little block that I did in the pre-recorded video, the little mummy. Minder mummy. This one was just sewing, so that's why I did that one in the video. There's no applique even on that one. All right, so we're going to lay this down here, and we're going to need a couple of rulers. What kind of sewing table do you have? I like yours. I love it. Okay, so this is, and we have these in the store, Anna. This is a unique sewing furniture table. And unique sewing furniture, and they have a nice website. You can go look at the furniture, but the thing I like about it is that the machine can stay in the flatbed position even when you're embroidering with it, so it's a lot easier when you quilt. I quilt a lot. So okay, so what's cool about this is you're going to use your 4.5 by 6.5, and your, let me see, let me pull this up just a little bit more, and you're going to use your 6.5 by 8.5, but the little tack down lines here for your fabric will help you get this straight. So you can kind of use the end, because this ruler is actually 8.5 inches long on the outsides. So I'm just going to get this lined up and then line it up this way because we want it 4.5. And then I'm going to lay the other ruler in here also. So yeah, so Unique Sewing Furniture. And I would highly recommend them. They are a wood table instead of particle board. And they're handmade by a mom and pop shop. And they're in Arizona now. They were in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and now they live in Arizona. So really nice folks, and they do a beautiful, beautiful product. I'll never have another table again. All right, so get this lined up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do then is we're going to trim the top and the bottom at the 4.5 inches. Start in a little bit and then pull back into the corner and push forward. And then I'm going to flip it around and do the other side. So we're not going to do the ends yet. Okay. Push forward. Okay. And we're going to take the middle one out. And then we want the ends to be 8.5. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to trim the ends to the 8.5 inch line with the 6.5 by 8.5 inch ruler. Okay. And then we need to connect the dots or connect the lines here. So I'm going to see if I can get it lined up. I always have trouble using the orange pop ruler, but I think I can do it. Okay. Like that. And then we'll flip it over and do this side. There we go. This one. Okay. Connected the dots. And here is, whoops, I always miss a little bit on the sides, so sorry guys. It'll be fine. Get my rotary cutter to open up it for me. There we go. Okay, so there is our pumpkin row. So that is the first 5 blocks. So the first 2 we did here are these 2. We get rid of this so I can show you my hat again. Here's my hat. Okay, and here's the pumpkin row we just finished up. And then the other ones that I did on the video, which should be up on Facebook, and I'll put it up on YouTube in about a half an hour. This is the Bugs and Hisses block, and this one's actually going to go like down here, and it's got like down below the hat here. And there's another little block in between here. And then this little thing goes up, and it looks like the little spiders down here hanging from the hat, and then we'll put a flower right here on the hat. And then we did the haunted houses in the pre-recorded video, and then also Mind Your Mummy is in the pre-recorded video. Okay, so that's the first 5 blocks this week, and then next week we'll be doing, I think it's 5 more blocks, because we're going to be doing they're mostly paper piece blocks next week, and then we'll do the then there's some border blocks. There's like some filler blocks that we'll do too next week. So, okay. So I'm going to put the camera up here quickly and say goodbye to everybody. And just know that the video should be up on the, oops, a second, I gotta get the right, there we go. The video should be up on Facebook now. I scheduled it, so hopefully it is that. What is the hat only one done? Yes, the hat is the only one that's in the bigger hoop. Yes, the rest of them are done in either a 5x7 or a 6x10. So this is the only one that was done in a big hoop, and you can do it, multi-hooped if you need to. So but then so yeah, so I'll finish putting the stuff up on YouTube, so all the videos will be there for the other 3 blocks. And then next week we'll do 2 more blocks live, and then I've got the pre-recorded video for the rest of them. So Okay, so I'm so glad. Thank you so much for coming and visiting me tonight. And I know it was a little longer class, but I wanted you to be able to see the whole block from start to finish. So, okay, so thank you, everybody. Have a really nice week, and I will see you next week, and we'll continue on with some more blocks. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.